All right.
Welcome back to the Can We Be Friends podcast. I'm Gage Morrow,
And I'm Mike Massaro.
and we're going to open the show today with a fabled theory that I've been waiting for. I've actually told him not to say anything because I want to hear it completely spelled out. So, Mike, please take it away with your JFK assassination theory.
All right. As I've told you, I've sort of been teasing this for a while with like you and Chris too. and
Yeah.
but I thought of a unique theory of the JFK assassination. So basically, it starts in 1963 with the Kennedy administration more broadly. So if you look at the big players in the Kennedy administration, right? You have like Robert McNamara in the CIA and intelligence. You have Dean Acheson, I think his name was, working in the Pentagon, and then you have and this is the most important. Like, so people always like to point to like the CIA as you know, the CIA killed Kennedy, the mob killed Kennedy. It's like, I think it's even like more of an inside job than that.
So we're talking deep state, the deepest of all the states.
Not even.
Not even deep states?
We're talking the deepest ties that a human being can have. We're talking family.
Ooh, I was going to say a
think
cult, but I like where you're going.
I think that RFK killed or organized the killing of JFK.
Now, for those ignorant people at home, and definitely not my ass, you're talking about his brother, Robert Kennedy?
F. Kennedy. That's right. I think that Robert F. Kennedy was jealous of John F. Kennedy's rising star. And let me lay out why.
Well, first they're Irish, so I can already take
Exactly,
you
they're Irish.
at face value.
So,
A jealous bunch.
so look at Joe Kennedy as a figure, right? Joe Kennedy's a mob figure. He ties to his family wealth and prominence to the crime ring that he ran in Prohibition with bootleg alcohol.
Yeah.
So
What bought them their influence?
exactly, and he is a ruthless politician and sort of kingmaker in that way. JFK as the star of the family, I think must have bothered RFK a little bit, because these boys spent their entire lives competing for their father's basically attention and affection. It was
We got like a Jackson 5 situation.
exactly. This is something I learned watching a documentary, or actually not even a documentary. So it was a documentary and the movie Chappaquiddick about Teddy Kennedy.
Right? Oh, that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
So it was that, and then some like corollary documentary that just discussed the story, and so the interesting thing about that was they talked about Ted Kennedy always had a problem with like impressing his father, and there were always issues with that he felt, and sort of, you know, like being enough to please his dad. You know, he always had a lot of scandals. He you know, publicly with drinking and with obviously the Mary Jo Kopechne, the Chappaquiddick thing.
Yeah.
There was another scandal where his nephew allegedly raped a young woman at their beach house down in Florida, and he was there for it, but then like avoided questioning. And there's
Gotta
whole-
love some. You know, I was raised Catholic, and this just rings true. So many like old Catholic stories, which is like now we say like, oh, they didn't like JFK because he was Catholic, and they thought that he would choose to answer to God or the Pope rather before the American people. They like the foreign interests would outweigh his domestic duties. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, at first I was like, that's a ridiculous like accusation. But then like learning about these stories about the Catholic Church, this like international like shuffling of problematic
Priests, yeah.
individuals, and it just makes me think it's just like when you're raised in that culture, like this is how we handle things. Like shut up,
Inside.
don't talk about your problems.
Yep.
You're upsetting the organization. You're making us look bad.
Exactly.
We can't have these allegations. We're gonna need to shuffle you over here.
Yeah.
so
Can you
can't
imagine what they'll
anything.
say in the pews at church if they hear this?
Oh, man.
That's
Like you said last time we were speaking, institutionalization.
yeah.
Yeah, where something become or institutionalized. Sorry, when
Yeah.
when something
Either
becomes
way.
so official because it's like, well, it's been around, you know.
Uh-huh.
And as we talked about, like Catholicism just started off as a cult that was like an offset of the Jewish of like the cult that was Judaism at the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's just kind of stayed a cult for so long that people are like, oh, it's such an institution. We have really old churches that like pay homage to that, and it's like, yeah, but there's still like bad things in that practice.
Oh yeah, I had a priest at my home church when I was younger, who allegedly, wink,
Reportedly.
wink, nudge, nudge, yeah,
Yeah.
stole like a ton of money Basically from the church coffers, bought himself a Beamer, bought himself a new home, got his mother a home on the shore. So, and then they just moved him up to Massachusetts to another church.
Yeah, they do that shit, man. That's why I would respect a religion that had far more accountability. And I understand that it's like at a time where you were persecuted and, you needed to like stick with your own. But now you've gotten to the point where like the Catholic Church is the largest private landowner in the world. So it's like, I don't think you're under attack anymore. Like you have the ability to actually stand strong and stand for something that like you preach.
The movie Spotlight paints a really good picture of that, of just like like just how storied like the church had been in Boston and how that contributed to not being able to out any of these kinds of problems
and generational like mental health problems, because you're just passing that stuff on. When you abuse a child like that, then they become part of the church. That's the only way they can interface with the world. But more on the Kennedy assassination. Where is that going? The family.
All right.
The jealousy.
So RFK is jealous.
Show off to dad.
So RFK was Attorney General under JFK. RFK went after the mob, which is one of the things that people pointed to as a reason that maybe the mob did this. But I think that a lot of that behavior was RFK trying to make a name for himself, and RFK sort of like trying to be his own person and not the brother of John F. Kennedy, who's also a politician who's going to have to follow in his brother's footsteps after 4 more years of him. Then he's going to have to run and make he's the second in the dynasty. So I don't think that sat very well with him, because I think he's the same as the rest of them. He's a deeply political person. He's just as scandal-ridden as JFK, or they had sex with all the same women.
Marilyn Monroe.
Yep. Among many others.
Chief among them. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a book called Kennedy Babylon by I forget who it's by. I think it's by Howie Carr. I can't remember. He's like a conservative talk radio guy up in Massachusetts. But that's a
curveball.
Deep cut. Yeah, it's weird.
Massachusetts?
Yep. Yeah.
Well, is it by Massachusetts standard? Is he just a guy who's like a centrist and he's like, no, I think
I mean, like
I think 9 months is a little too late, and they're like, "You Nazi! How dare you?"
I mean, he's definitely a conservative.
Okay.
He's definitely like I would equate him to like a Rush Limbaugh light.
Oh, okay. Well, rest in peace. I mean, how are you gonna not rest from him?
Yeah. Pour one out for El Rushbo.
Real quick, I go to the gym, which is the only way that news has ratings anymore, is Planet Fitness's. Like, I feel like you can track directly the ratings. Like, the Nielsen rating is proportionate to the amount of gym memberships there are in the United States, because that's the only place people ever watch the news anymore. And, like, how many times you're filling up your gas.
Planet Fitness is, like, a really lucrative contract with CBS.
Oh, yeah. They're like, we got all the streaming service. Disney just hasn't bought us out yet. But I keep seeing on Fox News, like, rest in peace, Rush. Like, Rush's greatest hits. Like, he's the fucking
Rush's greatest hits.
Like, it's Rush, the band. Like, it's
ladies and gentlemen, Alex Lifeson.
I think you're talking about the wrong Rush, buddy. Yeah. No, but okay, continue. So
yeah,
jealousy amongst his family. He's trying to impress Dad.
Yep. So I think he figures out at a certain point that this beloved man, America's hero, JFK, the young, virile leader of the country.
He didn't go into Marilyn Monroe not because it was easy, but because he was hot.
He realized that his brother's loss would be a massive tragedy, and that there were plenty of people who wanted his brother out of the way. So he engineers a scheme, the details of which I have none, because this is just a theory at this point.
Okay, well,
I want to preface this.
After this thesis, I want to ask you some technicals just to
we'll get
gauge
into it.
Where which evidence you believe in, which magic bullet and all that shit. So, so he engineers this whole scheme.
So he engineers a scheme to kill his own brother.
Okay,
right. So he knows that he can use this like national sympathy to basically jumpstart his own election. After the presidency of non-beloved Vice President Lyndon Johnson.
Yeah, right. And that quote, but yeesh, did not exactly want to sign the Civil Rights Act, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, LBJ was.
He's like, civil wrongs, am I right, fellas? Because dude, anyone who does that, mega racist.
Yeah.
Anyone who literally this motion right here, you're like, that's. When we talk about dog whistles, like this isn't a dog whistle. This is a meme from 12th grade. This is a dog whistle.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
That guy, Lyndon B. Johnson. Scummy
Lyndon
fuck.
Johnson was back. He also, I read an interesting fact, used to make the Secret Service agents take his shit out of toilets when he would go to the bathroom because he didn't trust water systems to not, like, someone would harvest his DNA or something, basically. Which
I'm
was
sorry, what? Do we have a
absolutely
schizophrenic white
ri-
supremacist?
Yeah.
Do we have... Do we... That's so
He's
twisted.
like, you got to take my shit out of the toilet.
Dude, that's some, you know, bro, that's kind of like... You can really place him historically, though, because that's some Roman shit right
It
there.
is some, yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
when they had people wipe their ass when they first came up with, like, public toilets and shit.
Yep.
God damn. This shit just doesn't change. But anyways,
So RFK
RFK.
realizes this, and as you know,
I'm gonna turn
after the term of Lyndon Johnson, he launched his presidential campaign
Sorry.
on the platform of continuing his brother's legacy.
Yes.
And he had a massive national following and would have been the president were it not for his assassination. Now,
Damn. So
Here-
who
here's where the theory
assassinated
deepens.
RFK? The lobotomized sister.
Teddy Kennedy.
Whoa. Wait, okay, so please, because I don't know all these Mick bastards, could you please explain to me who Teddy Kennedy
Senator
is?
Edward Kennedy, the Lion of the U.S. Senate, was a longtime senator from the state of Massachusetts, also a known drunkard and carouser,
They're
among
all
other
Irish
things.
Catholics. So.
Yeah, Ted Kennedy developed a name for himself. He hung out with a Connecticut Congressman John Larson, was a bedfellow of his. Shout out to
Shout out one
Connecticut-
time, 860
Connecticut
repping.
Congressman John Larson. He you know, there's he stayed in the Senate his entire career.
Okay.
And you know, he was someone who wanted to run for president, and then until Chappaquiddick obviously derailed his attempt at this. So I gotta double check my facts here about what year Chappaquiddick happened, because
I'm gonna
that
take a guess
factors.
before you get
in.
that. I'm
Do
gonna
it,
say, let's see. It was during the Kennedy. Well, that would be too specific because he was assassinated like a year out. I'm gonna guess 61.
Let's see. Chappaquiddick was in '69. RFK
Damn. Oh,
was
we went to the moon in
assassinated.
69, didn't we?
Yep.
I was way off. My bad. I was thinking like MLK.
No.
times.
We went to the moon in '60 because Kennedy was president when we went to the moon, wasn't he?
No.
it was Nixon.
No. So JFK made it our mission. He died, and
That's
then in
right,
honor of him,
yes.
like I think in the next term, we were able to get there because I think Kennedy was assassinated in 64, and MLK was 63.
Kennedy was 63.
Kennedy was 63. I think
Yeah.
MLK was also 63, which is why I was confusing that.
Yeah. So okay, JFK was November 1963. RFK was assassinated.
Oh, so Chappaquiddick was way after the brothers, after JFK's
in
death.
June of 1968,
Gotcha.
and
okay.
Chappaquiddick happened in 1969. So
Okay.
here's what happened. Teddy
They
Kennedy.
dumped that bitch's body on the moon.
Teddy Kennedy
That's what you're saying.
was the third of the kids.
Okay.
He was the least likely to ever get any of that political power.
He was like, frame it for those like basic white bitches at home who read you like Us Weekly. Which Duchess is she? Which like if is he like the Prince Charles or whatever? What are we talking here?
Yeah. He
His
is
line is
never going to
he's
assume.
never-
Well, I mean, he has aspirations, right? He really
Mhm.
wants to. I mean, he's the one that basically is the nearest to his dad more of the time,
Mhm.
and he's always getting the shaft from
Oh,
him. He's
man.
always like, "Oh, Ted, you're such a fucking loser."
You know what show
Ted,
is
you're-
exactly like this? Is
What?
Succession on HBO. Have you ever seen that?
I have not.
This is a slide. This is just like a tip for you and for those at home. Like, watch that show because it's so Kennedy. It's about a family where the patriarch is the head of a media company. Thinks like a Fox News,
Oh shit.
but more like a Disney because it's like amusement parks, television, and movies, and like all this shit. And so it's an empire.
Yeah.
And this man is like getting up there in age. It's played by Brian Cox.
Okay.
And he is about to pass it on, and then at the meeting where he's going to pass it on, like where everyone thought he was going to pass it on, he's like, nah, fuck it, and he just like emotionally terrorizes his kids.
Holy crap.
Like they all have such severe daddy issues, but to that point,
yeah, that sounds like the Kennedy family.
yeah, exactly, which is why. But it's like we bring this one in close,
Yeah.
and then we just shit on him, and then like right when he runs away, we pull him back again, and
Yeah.
it's like we give the daughter hopes, but then dash him every time, and be like, if you could just
Yeah.
be a stronger woman, you could get it, like that kind of shit.
Yeah, Joe Kennedy was like a wheelchair tyrant. He was just having his
Mm.
kids fucking push him around and like,
Oh, yeah.
treating him like absolute dog shit. Yeah.
Okay, so how does Teddy play
You
into
mind
this
if I
whole thing?
hit this in here?
Yeah, no worries, dude. How does Teddy play into this whole thing then? So you're saying it's Teddy's scheme, or it was RFK's scheme and Teddy helped him?
It was RFK's scheme, but Teddy found out about it.
Oh.
So here's the thing: I don't think Teddy Kennedy's Teddy Kennedy's like the black sheep, the villain of the Kennedy family. And he was the black sheep before because he was the least like magnanimous of his brothers. He was the most scandal prone. He was
Because
like,
he was into the darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. Or what are we talking
I don't
here?
know.
'Cause
I don't know exactly
this
what it
is
was.
60s.
But
like,
he was a little bit less discreet of a party animal, I think.
he was
than his
like
brothers
casting
were.
a gaze upon a Jewish lady or something, like something that would get you beheaded back in the 60s.
He was a Kennedy. He knew better than that.
Oh
He-
yeah,
he-
exactly.
Yeah.
But so he was just like, so he was like the Prince Harry. He was always getting into shit, fucking supermodels and shit like that, being scandalous, being more openly scandalous.
I think so. Yeah.
So he was kind of like the stoner degenerate. Everyone's like, oh, this fucking Teddy doesn't know how to do shit.
Yeah, but he's still a U.S. senator, right? So like
Yeah.
it's Kennedy family
Well,
degenerate levels.
you got to measure from their
Yeah.
standard. It's
I
not
mean,
like you got your schlubby coke dealing brother.
Yeah.
It's like your Senate brother, but
Yeah.
the shitty Senate seat.
Yeah, I mean, and granted, he's not. He's not running around shot up with speed like JFK was in hotel rooms
yeah.
and stuff. But like he's getting drunk in public.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Too late, too soon, brothers, too soon.
Rest in peace.
Rest in
So,
rest in power.
Yeah. So Teddy, and second of all, I have this whole other theory about Teddy Kennedy being like have an inferiority complex because you have RFK, JFK, and Edward
Snowden.
and then
Time
Edward
traveling-
Snowden Kennedy.
time
That's his name.
traveling- Time traveling whistleblower.
Yeah.
Snowden Kennedy.
Yeah, let me get his middle name right
Yeah.
because this will really show you why.
So then, what's the complication? Right. So RFK schemes it.
RF
Teddy stumbles upon it. How does Teddy?
Edward
because it comes
Moore
to
Kennedy.
fruition.
Yes, so it comes to fruition. Teddy Kennedy at some point finds out from his brother that this happened. Whether it's campaign, he did work extensively on his brother's campaign. So, and again, the details on this are fuzzy.
Okay.
But the details on most of this are fuzzy.
Yeah, of course.
Like,
it's a Bruder film and all that shit.
but
It's like we haven't seen an assassination in a minute because everyone's got a cell phone.
yep, it's literally fuzzy. If you look at the video.
Exactly.
So
And I've watched it a lot.
many
Back
times.
into the left, brother.
Yep.
Back into the left. One shot, one kill. It's actually 3 shots,
To
one
the
kill.
right,
but
but
we
yeah.
would- yeah. So I'm gonna.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna break the topic of. So then, how does Teddy play into this whole thing?
All right,
so
so-
is he telling the media? Is he? Because
No,
a lot
so-
of people don't believe the shit was legit.
Well,
Like,
see,
that it
that's
was
the thing.
just Lee Harvey Oswald.
Teddy doesn't tell the media. Teddy, to his death, maintained that the investigation that the Senate did was
The Warren Commission.
Yeah, was the Warren Commission was above board. He said that publicly.
That's a ride or die right there.
But I think that's because Teddy Kennedy knew what actually happened, and Teddy Kennedy also knew, as a man of virtue, as the hardest worker of the Kennedy family, is the only one who didn't get the Fitzgerald name as his middle name.
Damn.
He,
Stone
I
cold.
think, it was, and his first name was Edward. It began with an E. He didn't even have the bit like EFK, EFK. It's weak.
Yeah.
His Edward
It's a
Moore
pretty
Kennedy.
linguistically deep cut,
Yeah.
but I think the Fitzgerald's much more harder evidence. It's like
Yeah.
you don't belong to
No.
this Mick Potato pushing family.
But he saw that his brother Robert was willing to murder their brother John just for power.
It's on some biblical shit.
He knew, as a good American that he was, that no man who's willing to murder his own brother to ascend to the presidency can ever be trusted with the power of the presidency.
That's valid.
So, in order
That's
to
valid
prevent
right there.
in order to prevent this massive problem, he resigned himself to basically murdering his own brother. And in 1968, he orchestrated the assassination
Whoa.
of RFK
So he had to kill a brother for killing a brother.
to prevent him, because he knew that RFK would have been president
Yeah, he would
if he had
rise.
lived. There was no way to stop him publicly.
So how, is
because
Timmy
what's he
still
going to do?
kicking, or did he kill himself from all that guilt?
Who?
Tommy,
Teddy?
Teddy, whatever. That redheaded stepchild, Mick, black sheep of the family, that fucking whiskey pusher. Yeah, what's old Teddy doing now? Is he still kicking?
He's pushing potatoes in the field.
Yeah.
No, Teddy.
Back into the motherland.
Teddy died, but he.
Mhm.
So here's what happened. Teddy
So JFK.
Teddy also felt the guilt of having to kill his
Yeah,
brother because he's a
course.
man, and he's a good man, having recognized that he had to take the sacrifice. He had to shoulder that guilt to prevent the nation from
He's got
from
the
dealing with
first
the
spoon
repercussions
of
of,
Mama's sauce. You know what I mean?
it. So Teddy, yeah. Oh, I mean, or
The prodigal son. Oh yeah. Or
corned beef broth.
Yeah, or haggis.
Yeah, oh.
Oh, this might be Scottish. I'm sorry to be culturally insensitive to the whites.
Same region.
Yeah,
Same deal.
fucking-
Bad food.
You're all exactly, you bland motherfuckers. Get one fucking spice
Yeah.
and then come back to me.
It didn't make it all the way up there. They just took it all in London. And
All
that
right,
was it.
so
yeah.
you're saying Teddy had Rob killed because Rob had. Whoa, there's a ghost in here. Don't move. Because Rob had JFK killed.
And he
And he
needed
knew
to prevent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Some omen shit where you had to stop Damien from becoming president.
so then Teddy's laden with all this guilt, and he starts drinking.
Ah.
And he starts drinking heavily.
He's got a death wish.
And now because he knows he can't be president because he's also a brother killer, and he's that good of a guy. He's like, I will never
Yep.
do what I had to do
He's
to my
like
brother.
he's like the Christopher Walken from Deer Hunter. He's just like
Yeah.
walking around with like a death wish, but he just can't do it.
Nope.
He just has to have someone else punish him
So
for what he's done.
but he punishes himself, his
Yeah.
liver, and he does this daily and hour by hour by
Mhm.
hour, and he just sinks into the bottle. And then one day, he's at a house a year later with Mary Jo Kopechne, and they decide to go out for a drive because he finally has someone that he trusts enough to talk to, and
shit.
he's laden with his guilt, and he's been drinking all night, so he feels his ability to open up, and he drives her out to this beautiful location he knows on the beach
Yeah.
where he grew up because he wants to tell her his deepest, darkest secret because he just needs to confess this, get it off his chest, and he's been drinking so much, and he drives into the lake and kills the one person he loved, the one person he could trust enough to talk to about this.
It's certainly very cinematically compelling.
And that's why Teddy Kennedy is the tragic hero of the
Damn.
Kennedy family.
So what's with the Kennedys now? I heard isn't there a Kennedy in the government right now? Somebody
Is
Jr.?
Caroline? Oh, JFK Jr. Well,
Yeah.
JFK Jr.'s been banned on Twitter for his anti-vax shit, I think.
Yeah, isn't he in a wheelchair?
Is he?
I don't know.
Is
Or
it
am I
JFK
thinking-
Jr.? Is it JFK Jr. Jr.? I don't know. I don't know what
Maybe
the fuck,
Junior
like-
Bacon Cheeseburger.
Yeah.
Maybe the guy in the wheelchair.
Is
I
this
think
a
is
Wendy's?
Governor Abbott of Texas.
Texas?
I think-
No, he's in a wheelchair?
Governor Abbott? Yeah, they call him Wheels. I'm serious.
Oh, Wheels Abbott,
Yeah,
governor
I
of
mean, because
Texas.
he's a guy who can fucking take a joke, you know, kind of like an asshole. You know?
You think he's from Texas? He's got like off-roading wheels on his
Oh
wheelchair.
yeah,
He
dude.
just like
He's
goes
got
out
them,
mudding.
I got them rattlesnake stairs.
He's got a V8 under
Yeah.
his wheelchair.
Pam. Yeah, man.
He just hangs out with all the fucking rice burner Mazda kids.
Yeah. Yo, is that shit dropped, Holmes? Damn, fool, that shit dropped. That's cool as fuck. Got a dropped Mazda fucking wheelchair. Well, no, he's got a dropped like handy capable van that's got like the platform that like it's underlit.
Yep.
It's got a fucking neon light underneath.
It's got the
Fast
neon
Furious
thing.
style.
It has like lift and drop music,
Yeah.
so whenever it's engaged, like it just like lights
Quick,
up.
I gotta get to my physical
Yeah.
therapy. Wait! Drop the knobs. Oh man, just
Yeah.
nothing but reggaeton persistent. So that's an interesting theory.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you have more?
You want to hear my evidence?
Yes, I'd like to see how you respond to the technicals. Now, let's start with the question on everyone's mind: one shooter
Doesn't matter.
doesn't matter, or does it? Because the
I think
debate,
motive is the real question.
motive certainly is the real question, but it begs responding to the evidence, these mixed evidence of the report says one shooter, but there's actually three. So it's like, yes, the motive is important, but why that detail? Why couldn't it be three shooters? Why do they have to cover that part up? Why are they lying about that? Because we know the magic bullet's a bunch of horse shit.
Yeah, well, so that's my thing. Like, if you're asking me what I think, like, having seen the Zapruder film a bunch of times, having watched, like, a ton of, like, questionably legitimate Kennedy documentaries on both YouTube and the
Yeah.
deep bowels of Netflix, I can, like, honestly say that I think there was more than one shooter. Like, you look at the fucking way,
Yeah.
like, I've shot things before.
Yeah.
Like, bullets move all kinds of funny ways. They don't move like that.
No,
And they don't make your head react, like, they don't make
No.
a thing react like that when they hit them.
First of all, strange that they'd have multiple shooters, right? And I would love to hear from like a tactical perspective because I don't know any combat veterans.
I'm not a ballistics expert. I'm just
but
talking about
but
my
even
ass.
before ballistics experts, I don't understand what the strategic value of having three shooters would be. Like,
You
do
make sure
usually
you get the shot. Like, you're
Yeah,
killing the president, you
I
know?
suppose it
It's
just.
not a shot you want to miss.
I wonder if there's any tactical precedence to that kind of procedure of having them. Maybe it's because it confuses by having the shot ring out from all that, so they could like invalidate other people's stories and like try to slowly corroborate to whatever the most convenient is
Maybe
to steer away the guy, because maybe you have three and then you can throw it on one guy.
Yeah,
But you have for the insurance that you get it, and Lee Harvey was just the escape.
I mean, yeah, it could really be like a Merchants of Doubt thing. It could just be like one of those, like even like let's take the most popular conspiracy theory, like the CIA and the U.S. government orchestrated the Kennedy assassination. Like the way they operate with disinformation, it would make sense to like have as many conflicting reports as you can, and then have a really like blanket government report that's super just vanilla and makes no sense, and because then you're gonna make everyone who says something else sound fucking crazy, which is what they did with the UFO stuff for a long time.
Yeah, but now even like I think the last statistic I heard is that like 72% of Americans don't believe that it was just Lee Harvey Oswald, like alone with his motives, that did the assassination. Which I don't know. It's just like we all know it's some bullshit.
Well, then that just means
but we don't know where the bullshit's coming from.
Which
kind of
is
like
exactly
with,
how
Epstein.
you win. Well, that's exactly how you get away with it. Is that you make it so like instead of like you say it's like you say this is how it happened. This is black and white, and then somebody else looks at it and says there's some discrepancies here. I'm going to keep digging. If you make sure there are discrepancies off the top, then basically wild speculation becomes the norm, and you get 500,000 Kennedy assassination theories that like all could be plausible and believable, but it's going to keep everyone from really zeroing in on like a specific inconsistency, because over years and years and years, you're just going to build such a wealth of opinion and evidence that, anything could sound plausible. Even the fact that the whole family killed each other. Yeah. Which, like, if you want to see my evidence for that, it is
don't go
absolutely
too far.
Nothing.
Yeah, no, it's it's good that you rather have nothing.
I completely made that up.
For a fraction of a half of a moment, when Mike was opening that notebook, I'm like, if this motherfucker has words on every single square inch of each page, even in the margins, I'm going to have to go get a gun, because I can't have someone walking here with a manifesto telling me they're like, JFK assassination theories are fine, but then he pulls out a notebook and I'm like, if there's like magazine cutouts and you're just tearing through women's heads, I'm like, okay, hold on.
And this is a brand new notebook. There's nothing in here.
Yeah, that'll start his next victims journaling of torture. But so here's a broader question, because I'm sure you're steeped in the community of conspiracy theories. Why is it that conspiracy theories almost always lead back to like the Jews did it?
Oh,
what is with the latent I was gonna say homosexuality. What is with the latent anti-Semitism in conspiracy theories?
So there's a historical answer to this. Excuse me, Jesus
Jewels
Christ.
are for tools, kids.
Hey, I just can't smoke cigarettes inside anymore, so I can pick one of these up every time I have to drink.
It's not like the good old days. We go to the casino and people respect your rights as an American.
You can't even smoke at the casino anymore. I was there this weekend.
Unless you're Chinese,
lost
and you
a bunch of money. That's true. Well, I mean, you can smoke
Just
in
kidding.
you can smoke in the bathrooms. I found out that you could smoke in the bathrooms.
Yeah, same. I think the same rules with airplanes.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Exactly. Dude, no shit. One time when I was in band in college, we played a tournament at MSG. So and I was like a heavier cigarette smoker at the time. Yeah, exactly. It was just a big factory in Chinatown. No, it's
in Sichuan province.
yeah. We flew all the way to Wuhan.
Yeesh.
Yeah. No,
like,
it's
it came back in my tuba spit.
I emptied the spit valve and everybody got COVID.
Yeah, brass sections certainly super spreaders.
Yeah.
If you got a bunch of trumpeters, you know what it is? Trumpeters.
It is trumpet. We if you walk anywhere where a concert band's been, wipe your shoes after, because we empty our spit valves wherever the fuck we are. Nobody cares. You just do it. Like it's the only
These
time.
Are some bioterrorists. Right?
It's the only time it's socially acceptable to literally spit on the floor.
Yeah.
Indoors.
Like, I can spit. You can't spit on this floor. Okay, what if I throw
it?
Yeah,
watch this. I'm gonna spit into my trumpet and then just empty it.
Yeah. You can't spit. You're gonna spit on my floor. What do you think? This is an Old West saloon? Okay, what if I put it through a bunch of complex, well-milled copper and brass tubing?
You let it build up over a 2-hour rehearsal session?
Yeah, can I let my spit ferment in this elaborate brass structure and then drain it dribbly onto your floor?
There was always that one kid in middle school band who didn't empty his fucking spit valve until it just sounded like a bong. He was playing a bong. The teacher was like, James, you need to empty your spit valve. And he just fucking...
Like you're drowning Louis Armstrong.
Literally.
Oh man,
That's a bad impression.
it's all right.
It's okay.
It would have been black voice anyways, and we don't stand for that because I don't see color. But
Voice.
so anti-Semitism. Please tell
Yes,
me why is there so
so-
much anti-Semitism in the conspiracy theory?
So I took a
world?
history of modern Europe class in college, and we talked about it's like anti-Semitic tropes have always been this sort of like have always been this sort of they orchestrate shit behind the scenes.
I
And,
see.
And
It's
there's
a-
one particular reason
like
for
they're
it.
by themselves.
Well,
It's like
yeah,
a very
it's
insular community.
exactly, and it's basically like because they're an insular community because they have their own like cultural, racial, ethnic sort of like community that is so exactly, it's a tribe that's so tightly knit. People in the societies in which they lived historically distrusted that. So and there's also a whole insidious tie to like Christian countries or like Catholic countries back in the Middle Ages would use that like insular community tie to basically spread the idea to basically spread the idea like, hey, they organize plots the same way they organized the plot to kill Jesus, and it became this really just fucking insidious trope that ended up proliferating through history to just be a default go-to of like, oh, the Jews. Like,
I learned about that in this book. It's Peter Frankopan, by the way. This is the book
that's
I was
the one
about.
you're talking about.
Yeah, this is the one. Amazing book for anyone watching. It's a retelling of history through the lens of the East. So we're talking Russian steppes, India, Southeast Asia, Middle East,
That's
Near
super
East,
interesting.
like the Caucasus Mountains as well. So like Greece, Turkey, Constantinople, and such. And the Crusaders used the myth that the Jews sold out Jesus and the Jews killed Jesus. They used that to lump in this anti-Semitic message with the anti-Islam message to retake the Holy Land, to retake what they called Constantinople, which is now Istanbul, the capital of Turkey.
Yeah, they needed to take their land back from the infidels.
Yeah, it was like it was an old holdover from the Christian from the Christian empires that spread into the Near East and Middle East, and they took it as like the holy, like an extension of Christianity, and the Muslims like fought them back for it and kept that and held that down during the Dark Ages and had their Renaissance while Europe was suffering.
Yeah, or Europe was like eating dirt and killing off a third.
Yeah, and because they didn't appreciate science, and so they stuck with silence.
It's true.
But so where were we at? Oh, this is the anti-Semitism and conspiracy.
Yeah.
So the Jews were always doing well because they stuck with themselves, and they had to keep a fucking eye out because everyone was always after them.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, like anti-Semitism in government also isn't like a new thing either. Like that I mean, like, and it, like, you know, Hitler was certainly not the first person to do that. Like, I mean, you have the pogroms in Ukraine and stuff like that. You have you have Spain went after the Jewish population.
Yeah, wasn't that the Spanish Inquisition?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that was after Christians, but it's also I don't think they really discriminated in terms of picking on religious groups.
Yeah, man. It's the Jews are like the longest standing cultural artifact.
Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. Yeah. The Inquisition, yeah.
Yeah, Jewish Inquisition.
Yes.
Nobody expects the Inquisition.
Yeah.
That old like Monty Python shit. But it's like, I don't know. It's such a. It's like kind of disturbingly beautiful like idea that you have this long-standing tribe that has survived so much. It's like so much strife and seemingly for no reason, because it's like in one time they were successful when others weren't.
Yeah.
And that what's it now? Hatchfields, something in McCoy's.
Hatfield and McCoy.
Hatfield and McCoy's, where it's just like someone gets one over on the other person, and then you just hold on to that
Forever.
shit. And Christians go back and forth, even though Christians came from Judaism. Like,
that was
Jesus
one thing.
Christ was a Jew.
So I was a huge like devout Catholic in high school, like very, very practicing. Like, I mean, you know, we're talking.
You went to Catholic school.
Yep, yeah, Catholic school my whole life. I mean, I did a lot of like, you know, like I used to lead prayer services and stuff like that. And for a while there, I thought about converting to Judaism. It was actually like I really like I read about it. I was thinking about, because I really like the Old Testament a lot more than I like the New Testament. I thought that like
It's got way better stories.
yeah, it does. I thought that like the way that Jewish like scholars dealt with theological
Shapiro,
issues. Ben Shapiro, rabbi.
My wife's a doctor. My wife's a doctor. Okay. Policy genius is very important because I
I'm Ben Shapiro, known Jew.
think that's a gynecological problem.
No, yeah, I seriously like was considering it because I was already circumcised, and but
There you go. Halfway there.
yeah, the hardest part out of the way.
You got the
But,
cap. You just need the cap. You
yep.
know? And you just need to learn the lunar calendar.
And I think the biggest thing was like the way that the Jewish theological leaders and like the rabbi deal with theological issues. I found so attractive because like the name Israel in the Bible means to wrestle with God, because Jacob,
Yep.
when God gave him that name, the story goes like was literally in a wrestling match
Yeah.
with God.
Because it was on
And-
Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
And they had the Rage in the Cage. And the,
The SmackDown.
SmackDown versus Raw.
Will God smite Israel? Yeah, but
God's the Vince McMahon
yeah.
of the Bible.
Yeah, and so God gave Jacob the name Israel, which means to wrestle with God, and the Jewish people have always had this like this like heritage in their theology of like really like instead of engaging with the text in a purely like, okay, like, you know, we're gonna take this as literally as you possibly can.
Well, yeah, the opposite of Islam. Islam means the submission to God.
Exactly. They dig into it and they question it and they say, why is it like this? Is it like this? And one of the things I found most interesting in college, I took an Old Testament course with this great professor, Dr. Harry Nasudi at Fordham. Shout out.
Shout out one time.
He was he really changed the way I looked at the Bible, like totally, and it became such an academic thing for me, and like it's really deepened my understanding of the text as a whole. But like I sort of like I would go and look, and he would tell us basically like the Jewish faith. You know, in American tradition, we look at a law, right, a rule, and our way of thinking is how
Double
can
check,
we
make sure we're still recording? Yeah, we are. I see
Absolutely.
a little late. Cool. Just a
how
little
can we
paranoid.
how can we find a loophole, right, like what is the narrowest way we can interpret this? How can we like and so because Jewish law is divine law, the way they look at it is how much like what is the most liberal way in which we can interpret this? So for example, there's a passage in Deuteronomy which lays out like the dietary laws and stuff, and it says you can't boil a calf in its mother's milk. So
That makes sense.
that's why Jewish people can't eat cheeseburgers, is because you can't have cheese, because they take that as liberally as you can,
Yeah.
which means you can't eat dairy in meat in the same dish like
It
that.
is kind of fucked
Like-
up if you think about where they both come from, but you know.
And but I just found that like so interesting.
Yeah.
Because the law of God's like apodictic, right?
Yeah.
It's like the parental law, like
The thing I like about Jewish law as well is the negotiation of law. So,
Yes.
you know, Catholics are very guilt-ridden people. They're very like, you were born, original sin, that idea blew my hair back when I was a kid. Because the idea that a child is born and having already sinned, like I didn't do anything. It explains perfectly a Catholic family. When you're born in this family, you owe us a debt of guilt. We're going to make you feel guilty for being who you are, for being against me. And it's not me that you should feel guilty for. It's God, because you've sinned, original sin. And that shit fucks you up as a kid, and it keeps you in line. It keeps you under the thumb of whatever patriarchy wants to come down on you. Not patriarchy like misogyny, but like a paternal figure that you call him the father, like the priest. And I just don't like the history of the Catholic Church, how they treat poor people, children. You know, the reason you have these things is the celibacy rules around Catholicism is because the church was a money-hungry organization that wanted to hold all wealth, so they prevented the men from pursuing wives.
yeah, because then
And
they would get
They would have a
disparated to the
lineage.
kids.
They would have
yeah.
kids to pass on, and you would diffuse wealth away from the Vatican, away from Catholicism, and they just couldn't have that. They needed to. They were like the most secure bank, pretty much.
So this is one of my big, and I have discussions with like, so I, you know, so I went to Catholic school my whole life, so I'm very well versed in Catholic theology and the catechism and stuff like that. Like it's like I have, and canon law and stuff like I'm not like an expert, but like I'm like a lay.
Yeah, the stages of
like
the cross
I've
and all that shit.
taught myself. Yeah, exactly. But so like one of the problems I've always had with Catholic doctrine, and this is a discussion I've had with some of my more religious friends that have, you know,
Shout out Miles one time.
Yeah. Definitely Miles. That have sort of I have a lot of conversations with him about this stuff that have sort of engaged with me on this. Is like there are a lot of cultural, contextual reasons for doctrine that like Catholics don't love to acknowledge. So for example, like I take a lot of the sexual doctrine as like a great example
A lot
of
of
that.
Leviticus.
Like a lot of that stuff is to build functional societies. Like, I mean, you can't have a good society if everyone's running around fathering kids with everybody else, and then you create this massive burden for your state to take care of. So like, you know, having sexual moral guidelines,
Like no gays.
so another part of this is that you also
Just
can't.
kidding. We love the gays. That was sarcastic.
Another part of this is you also can't build a growing and effective nation state that you know you won't want to fuck with if you don't have a large growing population. Like one of the big hallmarks of like these early agricultural
So which
societies.
one is it? Do we not burden people with overpopulation,
No,
or
but-
we want overpopulation?
Well, that's why these things are designed. I think, and the messages are so strictly like the messages are extrapolated from allegory and basically institutionalized and made into rules of like you need to have sex in the confines of the sacrament called marriage. Like, you know, there's nothing in the Bible in terms of defining all of the characteristics of like sacramental marriage. That's all written in the catechism, and they basically take passages in the Bible that talk about you know, like what God has united, like the contract under God to do this, like, and they extrapolate it to be these institutional things.
But my question would be, was monogamy not popular before that? Was everyone just like a fucking and sucking pagan?
I mean,
Or were there organic monogamous relationships, but the church stepped in and said, we need to be the big brother of marriage. We need to watch over and can see and approve who can bond and bind and become a family.
I think there's a mix of both, and that's the problem. When you get people doing what they want like that, it gets messy. You remember the societies we're talking about that are run under these laws so strictly are incredibly smaller than the ones we're talking about now. You know what I mean? So like if you have a situation in which like, you know, maybe a quarter of your population is just like completely polyamorous and will just sleep with anyone and everyone and sort of like trading sexual partners and stuff, you're gonna have issues in social cohesion with other members of the population that are not like that.
I have an extended theory on this now.
Yeah.
I feel like it is a classist issue. I feel like the church, because these marriage laws are enforced for the lower class, but think about people who've profited off of Catholic affection, like Michelangelo. These are artists who were commissioned by the Catholic Church to do things. They were not expected to live to that kind of lifestyle.
Well,
they were wealthy, they were privileged, they could afford to skirt the laws that were laid out in the good book.
well, it's like, in fact, most of the artists
But if
weren't.
we can keep families marrying to the same class and to the same status, we can keep people in their place. Unless you rise above your station, if you have a bunch of nobles running around, a bunch of people you deem as intellectual hierarchs, as elites, and they go run around and they fuck with the poor girl because she's cute, then you start getting some like you have to justify class changes and all that stuff, and you kind of let go of the hand that you have over people by saying we're better than you, we're different from you.
It's interesting. I think that like there's probably an element of that. I think that one of the key factors here in that society building, I think is definitely like stable population growth. So it's like enforcing monogamy is. And I'm not saying this to endorse the value of enforcing monogamy. I'm saying purely from a standpoint of if you are the leader of a society, of a city state, of a nation state, whatever that happens to be Christian, and you want to continue to grow the power of your city and nation state, you need people. You need people to do the work that's there. So it's like you want there to be children born consistently. You want your population rate to be above,
But not just
above
that,
the replacement rate.
You also want to implement sacrament so that you can pass them through the system of the church. Like,
exactly.
baptize this one. Like you're a Catholic, and then you're part of the
because
family.
it's going to make sure that you're part of the family. We're united under the same goal. We don't have to worry about you.
Yeah, you can't sympathize with the Turks. How could you sympathize with the Turks? You've been
We're all
baptized.
working towards the same thing here. This is why I've always hated like I talk a lot about being like a really like hardcore like libertarian anarchist type. Like I mean, like I've always hated the idea that like we're all on a team just because of like the place in which we're born. We're on a team
this
because of
patch
the
of dirt.
bonds.
It's like thousands of
yeah.
years wide,
We're,
or thousands of miles
I
wide.
mean, more often than not, it ends up being that like the closest relationships you form are with the people that you need to work with in order to survive.
You know that quote, the blood is thicker than water?
Yeah.
Well, that's a biblical quote. The extended means the reverse. The actual full quote is the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb, which means the brothers that you make in war are far closer to you on a spiritual level than the brothers actually born in, like if you're twins, the water of the womb.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's literally the opposite. When people are like, well, blood is thicker than the water, you got to watch out for your brothers. And it's like, no, like whoever is like bonded with me during trauma and during times of strife and where I needed help and they helped me, that's who.
Yeah.
It's the family you find, not the family you're born into.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. Like I mean, there are bonds with the family you're born into, but you have to nurture and foster those the same as you have to nurture. I mean, you can have a bad relationship with family just as easily as you can with a friend, and
but
it's
you certainly
easier sometimes because you don't get to pick that.
Yeah, but you certainly don't have to for like people around you in like a certain cultural context. Like if you want to bust out of your culture, if you want to be something different, like from the Catholic Church, and leave that organization, that institution, because that institution bleeds over into culture.
Yeah,
it affects art. It affects like community.
Exactly. I'm glad you said that because this kind of ties me back to what I was saying that brought us into this discussion here. It was like the conversations that I have with Catholics about that, in which they don't acknowledge that cultural element of the thing. It's like it's like the Bible is, and this is what I love. It's a fantastic collection of allegorical stories that will tell you fundamental truths about the human condition, both the Old Testament and the New Testament. Like if you look in that stuff, there is a collection of human wisdom from thousands of years of storytelling. Like the rules that have been written by the leaders of the institutional church, and by extension, the government set up in the name of that institutional church over the course of human history, take those ideas that come from a book that's supposed to fundamentally tie humans together, and use it to segment us and basically establish rules and lines and boundaries to our behavior that makes it more orderly for their end goals.
That's why Judaism was always my favorite monotheistic religion, because it was the least proselytized religion. Like the Catholics have missionaries, Islam has a heavy doctrine in proselytization, and the Jews were like, their ritual of conversion is actually like anti-proselytize. It's like if they deny you 3 times before you're accepted into the promised land, the kingdom. And that's what I like. It's like, because they have standards for like who, it's like a culture. They already understood from the jump they were creating a cultural shift. They were a movement. They were like a message that like you can't fuck with the underdogs. Like you can't just treat people however you want to. Like you have to be merciful. You have to like struggle with the universe and like try to earn your place in the world and work hard and all that stuff. And another reason too is finances. Like people get jealous of Jewish folks' success because the Christians wouldn't loan each other money. So the Jews were the first lending bankers.
Whoa!
Because they were allowed to. The Christians didn't allow to lend money with profit on it. They couldn't ask for
usury.
Interest.
It's usury.
Yeah. So the Jews were not the Christians. They were like, no, I mean, you can make money off of someone else needing money because you create this like loan structure is beneficial for business.
Look,
it's like the meritocracy of like you don't have. Okay, I know we'll get into it.
I have this is nothing to do with like the religious thing, but I have a huge fiscal problem with the idea of debt. Like which I don't want to sidetrack us from the religious.
No, I understand. I just think that
I do want to get into economics later.
I think I like patronization. Yes. I like the idea of patronism, where like in ancient times you had the loyals, the royals, loyals. We gonna be wrong. No, the royals, who would patronize scientists, philosophers to develop their craft. Who maybe they came from like a poorer family, and these people with extreme influence could give money to those with brilliant minds that may be in less fortunate circumstances, and they can create cool shit like automatons and like chemistry and shit like that. And that's how you pay for advancements. So we have the same thing when it comes to completely lost my allegorical train of thought.
So I want to.
Who was I connecting this to?
You were.
The patrons, like the idea that it's good that we fund these people.
We were talking about.
I'm so elevated right now. Elevated is a synonym for the word I actually am, but I'm pretty. I'm elevated about 40 milligrams right now.
Nice dose.
Yeah. Oh, loans.
Yes,
It was about loans.
loans.
So I think that loans are the egalitarian equivalent because it allows access for people to reach money if they have a dream that they think is going to come to fruition. I do have an issue with how structures are set up to force people into loanship, like for instance schools especially, and credit card debt and things like that.
Yeah. So like I think that so in terms of the patronage thing, I'm glad you said that because it was something that I wanted to circle back to. When you were talking about Michelangelo and those guys, like all of those guys were benefits of patronage.
Yep.
Like I mean, if you look at that was one of the most incredible things for me about Brunelleschi, the guy who did the big dome. Oh, Jesus Christ! What's
Pantheon?
the name of the? No. It's a huge
The Sistine
cathedral, not the Sistine Chapel.
Chapel, the Basilica Mamascucci or something. I don't know.
In Florence.
It's my only Italian.
It's in Florence.
Spagucci.
It's a massive basilica or cathedral or whatever. It's either in Florence.
Is a basilica like an IPA or something?
Maybe, yeah. It's a basilica, double IPA, 8%,
Sorry,
mosaic hops.
The soulmate's checking in on me, making sure I'm okay.
Aw.
She's like, "Are you soaring or coasting?" And I was like, "I'm coasting."
I matched with another girl on Tinder this week who fucking.
Shout out Julia. Thank you for listening. Love you, babe.
She responded. She's the
Tinder's
first one to
great,
respond
isn't
to. It's awful, but yes, like.
I know, but if you really do think about all of the ones you got available to you, got Bumble, you got.
It's true. I have the most luck on
Grindr,
Bumble.
You got OkCupid. It's just like.
I didn't know we were including Grindr.
Well, sorry that I am an intersectional individual. And
I was gonna say I have way more luck on Grindr than I have on either of those.
Sure, dude.
But like,
You look like a good old Italian pepper grinder over here. But no, I don't know what that means. Who cares? It's comedy. It's just jokes up in this
It's
bitch.
comedy.
It's just jokes. Life is what
I
you make
don't
it.
have a
Reality is
Grindr.
a suggestion.
sorry guys, I don't have a Grindr.
No, but Tinder's one of the just on a coding level, the interface is so much more pleasing.
It is.
It's less frustrating, and yeah, you run out of it, but that doesn't make you feel like a loser. It's like I don't want to pay for Pro, but thanks for kicking me off the app.
Or you are a loser and you do pay for Pro. Because,
Well, yeah, if you pay for Pro, you're fucking incel, but that's okay. But that's okay, and that's okay. But it's okay. But that's okay. But I met with a lot of girls on Tinder, and I think it's.
I'm not an incel, Gage.
I'm not saying you're an incel. I'm saying.
I mean, I did pay for Pro.
Oh. Microsoft. I mean, you could definitely spend that money on better things.
Oh, dude, I'm the
I
worst
like
impulse.
Masterclass.
I am the worst impulse buyer of like all
Planet
time.
Fitness membership. Like you can really
Planet
improve
Fitness
yourself.
membership, please.
I don't know.
yeah.
Boston Sports Club. You can improve yourself instead of chasing them hoes. You're gonna get lost in the thoughts.
Do my best. So I came up with like an original pickup line that I've been trying to use.
Well,
It's
pickup
like,
lines in and of themselves are very unoriginal.
they are, but it's like
So
listen
it's
to
like
this.
you
What do
think you're making a simulation, but you're in the Matrix, homie.
It's true. I said, hey,
Hey.
I think you and I are like, are like peace in the Middle East and the U.S.
Yeah, I have a boyfriend, so I'm gonna just.
Yeah, no.
Okay,
I
go
think
on.
you and I are like peace in the Middle East and the U.S. Because even though you seem unattainable, I'd totally bomb like 6 countries for a shot at you.
Damn. And he only slides that to the brown girls. He skips all the whiteys.
Dude, it only worked on a girl from Wesleyan,
Oh.
which is like kind of
I thought you were gonna say Lebanon.
No.
Like she gets it.
Wesleyan.
Yeah.
so
Wesleyan's
she's-
pretty dope. That's a great looking campus.
My uncle went to Wesleyan.
I like
played
the-
football, so he's not one.
Oh, wow, that's strange. I don't even
Back
think
in the
I
80s,
saw a
yeah.
football stadium there.
Nope. Oh yeah, they do. They got one. They're not, like
Not one that I've seen.
they're no temple.
Oh, now I do. No, they have actually a rather large campus, yeah, because their sports area is on the complete other side of the street, other side of like the
Yeah.
hill. But yeah, Wesleyan's got a beautiful campus. I know people go there to
does.
take like wedding photos.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking basic bitches go there.
They're in the
Over-
Rose Garden in Elizabeth
yeah.
Park in West Hartford.
Or on that. Oh yeah, man. I went there for my prom. Like,
Naturally, yep.
Before prom. Yeah.
I was
that's
gonna say I was driving.
definitely a
over
popular
here.
quinceañera spot, if you know what I mean.
I was
It's,
driving. Dude, it is. It's like I walk.
and I don't blame them. Those the flowers when in bloom, beautiful. I love it. I love
is.
good. You know, we just need more of that public beauty,
Space,
public flowers and good shit, dude.
I was in that. It's funny. So I was dog sitting for someone in that neighborhood for a couple weeks. Like, and I live very close to there.
And that is Mike's whitest thing of the week.
Yeah. Well,
Dog sitting.
yeah. So I wanted.
Privileged to have a dog and a friend that'll watch a dog, so
Yeah.
you can go do other shit without your dog.
It was my boss's neighbor, which was super awkward because then I
Yeah.
had to stay next door to my boss for which I love my boss. I love his family. They're great people. But
good gravy.
but like I'd like having a little space between myself
Yeah,
and
no
work.
shit.
And
I want to jerk off like 80 meters from your boss.
I want to jerk off. I want to smoke. I want to fucking get drunk and like
Yeah,
walk
party
outside in my
down.
underwear and yell
Get
at the
some
sky.
hose.
Like normal Tuesday night stuff.
Yeah, regular rural shit.
And so like
We go scream in the woods like
Yeah.
fucking psycho.
burn a couple air conditioners in the
Yeah, brother.
backyard. Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think? Oh, dude, I gotta tell you about the show I'm watching, but go on.
Yes.
You said
So
burn just triggered a fucking.
So wait, we're talking about the whitest thing.
Yeah.
That was I was gonna say when I was driving here, I think I saw your whitest thing, which was I turned off the highway and the road I turned onto my GPS was Lawn Acre Road, and for a second I thought it said Lawn Care Road,
Oh,
and I was
yeah.
like that is like wow, I'm in a white neighborhood like Lawn
Oh,
Care
yeah, baby.
Road.
Dude, stop. There's a lot of stop the steal signs, a lot of Trump 2024 signs, a lot of like impeach 46. It's I mean, the next book I want to get, because I love reading nonfiction books, the next book I want to get is on cults, because I've just started to frame my idea of how we group ourselves. I think there's extremities to social cohesion. I think there's like companionship, tribalism, brotherly bonds, like a warfare bond, and then you go a little higher and you get this like externalized, like dissociative kinship, which is so lost that you need to like submit yourself to ideology.
Yes,
a
yes.
cult. And I just drive around now,
Ideas
look
that
at
just pass
churches.
through your mind.
Yeah.
They're not even yours.
Like there are so many New England towns, for instance, that are not allowed to build anything larger than a church steeple. You can't build a government building larger than a church steeple. You as a private business can't build anything larger than a church steeple. So it's like, who runs
Dude.
that town?
all of
Is
those
the zoning
old-
commission has to pass through?
Oh my
It's
God.
like if you weren't allowed to make a 13th floor. You know what I mean? It's
Zoning-
like zoning is controlled by someone who believes in voodoo.
Zoning is the one like stupid mundane legal concept that makes me angrier than like
Yeah, it's
pretty
just
much
the-
anything in the world. It's just Karenism like
Oh yeah,
like
dude.
institutionalized.
Zoning is the
like
the what is it called? The homeowners association
Of-
of government
exactly.
bodies.
It's
It's
the
like
most
you can't have a house that this is actually goes.
my
into,
neighbor has a chicken coop.
this
we
is a
need to
great
give him
point
a
that I was
ticket.
thinking about today. So I was getting elevated. I was watching this show that I'm entirely infatuated by called 000 about the nitty gritty of the drug trade. Not something you've seen before.
I
Not like
that.
homeboys on the corner like slinging rock or whatever. It's about like
Wow.
What?
I'm just kidding.
You knew the vision I was painting for you. Very Boys in the Hood, very like,
Yeah.
Typical American drug trafficking. But this one, it blows the picture up, and it's between a legitimate shipping company in New Orleans that ships cocaine shipments from the Mexicans to the Italians.
It wasn't Mitch McConnell's wife shipping company, was
oh
it?
my God, no.
Cocaine Mitch.
No, it's got Dane DeHaan in it. It's a great fucking show, and it shows the real it shows from all perspectives the kind of interplay of like politic and shit like that. But my original point being that I completely forgot cults.
Yeah.
Cults. Yeah, cults. Where was I going with this shit? Cults. Oh, I just look around at shit and I'm just like, you're a cult. This is a cult following, and fuck, what was I gonna say? I forgot all that. But yeah, I want to study cults.
Edible
because-
marijuana, ladies and
Dude,
gentlemen.
this is like holy shit. Train thoughts. I don't know what he was talking about. I'm elevated 40 milligrams off the ground, but that's all you need to know. But yeah, so cults are fucking weird because it attracts very desperate people, right? It attracts people who have no purpose, who have no path in life, and so they're told. A lot of these like religions use words like path and journey and shepherd. Like what does a shepherd do? He herds sheep, like mindless wool-laden animals
That always kind of bothered me.
are
a
there to
little bit.
walk around and get shaved. And they talk about like the blood of the lamb, like the innocent, like you're being sacrificed to
Yeah.
this like altar. It's kind of gothic, creepy shit. And it's like you're talking about the Bone Church in the Czech Republic, and you just start to realize that
Kunora.
the further back you go, the more like ritualistic and hardcore these cults used to be. And for public appeal, they started to sell off some of those things to more like, oh, now we just go, we steal. Oh, that's my chair. We steal these pagans' holiday and we turn it into like a celebration of where we like hunt for eggs instead of running naked through the fields to fertilize our village.
It's like an emo kid who used to go to the cemetery when he was 13 and like make a little fucking like a pentagram and like pray to Satan, who now just like wears black every Sunday and listens to their favorite albums.
That's
from
another thing too.
childhood.
Like, dude, even though how anti-Catholic I am, I literally passed a cemetery today and I saw a pavilion that was set up for a funeral. I did the sign of the cross and I
Yep.
said rest in peace, and it's like so ingrained in me to pay respect to the dead. But then I was instantly thinking like, I was just running on a treadmill at the gym. You know how much better it would be to have a cemetery in the middle of a track, so you could hear me out. No disrespect to the dead, but it's like if you are gonna die and you only have one life to live, I would want to run around dead people to like remind me perpetually that like this life is going to end, so you have to like stay in the game as long as possible. So you got to stay healthy, you got to stay running, like you're running away from death. These are things I think about because I'm on a weight loss
That's
journey.
interesting.
But
I don't run, so I can't really.
no, I don't either because we don't have enough inspiration. You have to look at a fucking
true.
yellow and purple dumbass like cheap, like the Dunkin' Donuts of fucking gyms. Like Planet Fitness has Donut Day. What the what
Really?
are you? What are you serious? This is.
I mean that just sounds like rehab having coke.
I
day, where
know,
They're
that's
just
what I'm
trying to get you
saying.
to
It's
keep
like-
coming back.
They just want cheap customers, but anyways,
Side note: you ever see Burn After Reading?
yeah, with Brad Pitt.
Yeah, it's just like
Get shot in the closet.
every time I think about gyms, I think about the scene in that movie where Brad Pitt's stretching that guy out at the beginning, and he's like, "I felt a tightness in the front of my ass. Something snapped in my ass." Like it's just the funniest fucking.
Yeah, man. Was that Coen Brothers?
Yeah.
Coen Brothers aren't brilliant, right? A Serious Man.
Dude,
Such a good
everything they
fucking
do, I
movie.
just devour. I love it.
When the truth is found to be lies.
Did you watch the Ballad of Buster Scruggs?
I tried. That shit was a little
You
too.
didn't like it?
That was fugazi.
These
These Netflix originals are making clowns of my favorite directors, and I don't appreciate it.
See, I really
I don't know
like
what
that
it is, but
one.
Netflix comes to Scorsese and he's like, "All right, let me spit out 3.5 hours of dog shit with like little rubber puppets."
Dude, oh man.
And then Buster Scruggs, it's like, it was too all over the place. Just like I was upset with the fucking Netflix original too. The fucking I've been thinking of ending things. The
yeah.
the
Oh, yeah,
what's his
I-
name? The guy who did
Ricky-
adaptation, Kaufman, the Kaufman
yes,
movie.
yes,
It was his directorial debut.
Jim Carrey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, but that was
who directed the cough?
yeah, no. So
Gotcha. Wait, I'm
I'm thinking of it. So let me break this down. I'm thinking of ending this is the newest Kaufman movie. I believe he definitely wrote it. I think it's his directorial debut, but it was, in my opinion, compared to adaptation, compared to Eternal Sunshine, compared to being John Malkovich, it was dog shit.
I love John Malkovich.
I loved it too. Like I've never watched it, and I saw it. I'm like, oh my god, Cameron Diaz was actually a good actor, and
Yeah.
instead of just being like now like an old hag or whatever. I don't know what she is. I don't know
Her
what her.
Dry Hump by Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
kind of sad. Like bad teacher. I'm like, oh,
that
great,
was
pump the
gross.
brakes, lady. What the fuck?
Um,
But no, I mean, Kaufman's movie was not good. I didn't like Scruggs. I didn't like Irishman either. And I don't know, get it. Maybe it's not the theatrical experience.
can I make a case for Scruggs to you?
Go ahead. 'Cause
Alright,
I didn't make
I'm
it.
gonna try
mind
to
you,
sell
I
you
didn't,
on
I didn't
this.
make it through all
Okay.
the way through it. I made it
So-
to like about the Liam Neeson and like the armless, legless
Oh,
guy.
okay. That one's really hard to get through.
Yeah.
But I want to say a couple of things. One, I think that I love Buster Scruggs because I have a huge affinity for like old westerns, and
Okay.
and basically like what I liked about Scruggs was it was a modern and interesting retelling of old western allegories, like the Traveling Showman,
Okay.
the Prospector, you have the bank robber at the gallows, you have the and that one I love, the one with James Franco, because you get like really comical scenes with one of the guys from fucking Office Space, which is
Yeah.
dope.
So you have. So you're saying it's like the Witch version of Western stories. Like the Witch was like ancient American folklore turned into a movie
yeah,
about like
and
witches and shit like that.
exactly.
Like, the ancient shit,
Yeah.
like the grim shit. And then so Buster Scruggs is like the
Ameri-
earliest like
exactly.
folklore,
American
the
westerns,
oral
turned
tradition of the West.
And what I love about it is that so like I like, and like I said, like I'm a huge western, like I grew up watching westerns and stuff with my dad, and like but then also like I love Red Dead Redemption. It's like one
Yeah.
of the nerdiest things that like I love that fucking game. And
Yeah,
like,
there's
and-
also
and-
great developers too.
and-
right?
oh yeah,
Was it Naughty Dog that did it or
Rockstar,
Rockstar? So it's
Rockstar.
also the same as
GTA.
GTA.
Yeah.
Got you. Naughty Dog is Uncharted. Never mind.
and they have just like a great like whoever does the story stuff on that game
Oh yeah.
has just an amazing understanding of like western like literary
Yeah.
thematic
Them
elements.
and
like,
Bethesda, I feel
Yeah,
make the
yeah.
best RPGs.
Mhm.
Because I know Skyrim's broken as fuck, but
I never really played it, but I had friends.
dude,
who
nothing
swear
better
by
than
it.
like starting up with a new character and it fades into you on the prisoner's wagon going to the chopping block, and that's what starts the story. It's some real hero's journey shit because you start off as a prisoner, it's going on to death row, like
Yeah.
literally about to be executed, and then your destiny flies in on the back of a dragon, and then you realize you're like kind of some Harry Potter shit, like you're a wizard, Ari, you know, like you're dragonborn.
Yeah. All I know about Skyrim is that like I was hanging out with one of my friends who played it one time, and my brother had this little compound bow,
Yeah.
and he shot it at me, and it hit me right here. And he goes, my buddy's like, "You just took an arrow to the knee," and started like laughing like a
Oh, yeah.
maniac because of that meme.
Yeah.
And that was how I learned what Skyrim was.
Wow.